Is this disturbing? Or sexy? Probably disturbing. I was gonna get an apple. They happen to have more peaches on discount than apples. So hey, I got a peach for this video. And it's kind of like, not even on purpose, the joke's right there. Huh. Heaven Official's Blessing was the #1 anime of the fall in the year of our unholy pandemic, 2020. I repeat, Heaven Official's Blessing was the #1 anime of the fall. And it's technically not even an anime. Well, it isn't, and it is. It's the equivalent of anime in China, a donghua. And while that's a topic I want to get into more eventually, donghua, aeni, and other forms of anime-like animations topping the list of most popular anime for fall 2020, at least on my anime list, and any other list saying otherwise. We don't know her in this household. This is a Dianxia household. This is a Hua Chang Stan account. And yes, you guessed it, plus it's in the title. Danmei is basically boys love, or BL in China, and it's currently their most popular anime genre of all time. This is a tricky subject. It's no secret China's laws are pretty strict. And yes, that's putting it lightly without getting into specifics. But what's interesting about strict laws are how you navigate them, what can thrive in the face of dogma. Danmei, a genre that by all accounts should flop, especially in China, has become one of China's most profitable genres of entertainment. Ah, forbidden fruit and whatnot. What is it about Danmei? How does it succeed when it shouldn't? Why is Lanchan the ultimate service top, and how did folk? I am Crystal Marie, and that's exactly what we're going to be going over in this video. So toss a coin to your Dianxia and let's get into boys love in China and how it's taking over the world. Adapted from Chinese manhwa. If you want to learn more about donghua and get hilariously funny and also thoughtful reviews, check out the YouTube channel Donghua Reviews by Kukulin. He's done a great job reviewing a slew of titles. He's also a VTuber, or about to debut his newest form, Kuslakran, doing read-throughs and other fun stuff, so definitely check him out. Also, I'm not sure, I might have butchered his name. He's an Irish wolfhound. Listen, VTuber stuff, okay? I stan, I sub, I'm a patron, I'm a copperhound, woof, I guess. Okay, I'm done. I am so not done being trash. So what's Danmei? I've described it as boys love because it's the genre equivalent, but the literal translation of the word is a little different from the, quote, no plot, no point translation of the original BL Japanese term yaoi, or yaoi. First coming through Taiwan in the 90s, BL and yaoi ignited artists and writers to come up with their own stories, calling it Danmei. This term roughly translates to, quote, indulgence in beauty, and it found its home on romance-centered literature sites like Xinjiang and Xiangxing. I think I'm pronouncing those right, but just in case, they're probably just written here, so you can go check those out. You might be asking yourself, why the name? Well, very much like how yaoi, or yaoi, listen, I'm gonna call it yaoi because that's how we call it in Spanish, is an acronym for Yamanashi, Ochinashi, Iminashi. That's no climax, no punchline, no meaning for those who don't speak Japanese. Danmei has a special meaning in the name as well. It comes from the common reason why women, the alleged primary consumer of these types of stories, more like it's mostly marketed to them because of other industry things, but we'll get to that in another video. Because no one wants to outright market to the gays, is what I'm saying. Okay. I shouldn't have said that, but I said it, didn't I? Anyway, people assume mostly women read them, namely due to a complete lack of the male gaze, an aspect drenched in most other types of media. It's indulging in what fans of romance, typically women, consider to be beautiful. Stories that can be action-packed but focus on the fabrics, the long hair, the makeup. Seriously, who does Sang Lang's eyeliner? In Danmei, there's no sexualization, idealization, or perversion of women, and also none technically of men either. Instead, the focus is most often on the bond itself. Romance is what's being idealized, and its aesthetic aspect. The sexualization, although occasionally there, is a secondary focus and usually only found in extras from the original, possibly contraband versions of the light novels. Danmei, like Xianxia and Wuxia, are simply another interpretation of Chinese fantasy, a form of escapism, an ability to see this world where regardless of gender, your bonds aren't bound by things like a need to produce a family or children or specific gender roles. It's pure love. I'm talking about Modao Zushi probably here, more likely. They're all very different. It's kind of all concentrated in this one concept of a type of world, a type of magical world, but essentially these stories can have steampunk elements, they can be more contemporary, they can have time travel, they can have traveling into another world or transmigrating into another world kind of elements. It's a very rich culture, and honestly, depending on which Danmei you start with, you could find yourself in a completely different setting, timeline, or adventure, and we're gonna get more into that. And I'm not saying all Danmei put the sex aside, but it isn't that common. These factors have undoubtedly contributed to the rise and success of this genre, regardless of its origin, as essentially boys love, and more notably outside of China, is where it has thrived a little harder now. But I do want to talk a little bit about the double-edged sword this presents, because on one hand, this genre is exposing new global audiences to Chinese culture and inviting them into these rich, dramatic fantasy worlds. But on the other hand, it relies on the hype that BL's main audiences create. The acceptance of a mostly LGBT plus community starved for content, all while clipping this growing genre's wings. In a world where we've already had prestige fantasy titles like Game of Thrones, where sexuality is treated almost like an accessory and every conceivable taboo is broken for shock value, it kind of sucks that a story about the love between two people needs to go from romance to bromance because, well, hashtag no homo on a cultural level and on a political level, and we're all guilty. Even though what is fueling growth is precisely that it's, y'all don't want to call gay, but it gay. Why do the hets get Game of Thrones? To put this contradiction in perspective, there are entire multimedia franchises being built off the back of a Danmei novel. Animation, live action, video games, graphic novels, to the level of Marvel, and there's a lot of money being made by corporations because of it. But many authors who actually create these properties have to do so anonymously, or they risk ending up in jail. And I don't mean horny jail, where I'm usually at, I mean jail. So let's talk a bit about how authors are navigating this issue. Although it passed several legislations to regulate what they deemed, quote, pornographic, like 2004's self-regulations on prohibiting the circulation of obscene, pornographic, or other malicious information on websites, and 2007's an urgent announcement about strict action against online obscene and pornographic fiction, Danmei was able to avoid any serious censorship by describing sexual acts in more creative ways, like using intentional typos or poetic descriptions of sex rather than though the systems got better and better as time went on. These law names, by the way, are as long as the laws themselves are dumb. I might be biased, but despite them, Danmei's popularity continued to rise, so much so that they became a common source of inspiration for some really wonderful web series, ranging from anime-type adaptations to Netflix-level live-action recreations. They quickly grew in popularity, one show in particular getting 8 billion views worldwide. Despite the critical and financial successes of Danmei, China decided to pass yet another set of laws in 2017, the, quote, general rules for reviewing netcasting content, in order to censor anything outright homosexual in these series. That's right, if they tried to kiss, hold each other close, even hold hands, it was considered pornographic. This is obviously a big problem for these adaptations, seeing as how so much of the beauty of the original works was sown with romance, the pining, the longing, and the, kissing. Like, even a chaste Disney-style kiss between two young men can suffice. So in the same way the written material got around this censorship, the directors and writers of these shows came up with ways of expressing those kinds of feelings without being explicit, a subtle way of expressing the original romances under the guise of the platonic friendship. These workarounds weren't always foolproof, as some writers like Tian Yi still got thrown into jail for the simple crime of writing the gay. Funny, isn't it, how one of China's most popular art forms is constantly undermined by the ones who profit from it. Despite these egregious circumstances, Danmei has found ways to survive, even thrive, so it can continue to enthrall the world. The numbers don't lie, and we have a responsibility to treat the subject of Danmei with a lot of care, and support it as much as possible because of its sensitive political nature. With that in mind, boy, do I have some sexy-ass titles for you with plenty of censorship-approved eye-f***ing between them bros. What? I've gathered some of the most popular entries in the genre, and today I hope I will be giving you some bite-sized recommendations that should be easy to put in your mouth. This is a Beyond the Botcast rating system, by the way, not at all improvised and very scientific. The first one is by far the most popular. This is the series that got that 8 billion views I was talking about earlier, called Modao Zushi, or the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, or the Founder of Diabolism in English. You know, already the first show I want to sit and watch with my Catholic Latino parents. It originated as a novel by Mo Shan Tongshou on the website Jingjiang. After its success, it was then made into a paper novel, then an audio drama, then a manhwa, the Chinese version of a manga, a full-on donghua, a video game that should be coming out soon, and a live action. The amount of adaptations is certainly a mark of its quality, so I bet you're curious about the story. So, this is the story of Lang Wonji, Han Wonjun, or the Lightbringer, a noble, handsome, and righteous immortal like no other who... Wait, give me a sec. What, is this the Amazon description? Does Wei Wuxian work at Amazon Prime Video? Because he clearly wrote that. Let's start over. This story is about Wei Wuxian, who, after being summoned back to life to fulfill the last wish of a vengeful outcast, uses this second chance at life to right the wrongs of his past and hunt down the mystery of his own demise. In other words, he died, and he doesn't know why he died, or who caused it, or how, or what were the circumstances around that, but he needs to come back and solve that mystery, and somehow avoid his, I will call, anime rival slash crush, Lang Wonji, the noble, handsome cultivator I was speaking about, because, well, yeah, he's not sure if Lang Wonji wants him dead or in bed or in jail. They have a lot of misunderstandings. They were kind of like enemies, frenemies, rivals, sort of. They're on opposing sides-ish for a time. Wei Wuxian just wants no drama in his second life, but drama and Lang Wonji find him anyway. It's a story full of action, demon fights, a deep mythos, and undeniable chemistry between rivals Wei Wuxian, and Lang Wonji. Guys, I'm trying my best with names. It is hard as it is for me to pronounce words in English, which is my second language. But now, and I even pronounce things in Japanese too. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Now I'm trying Chinese. Bear with me. Anyway, the chemistry between Wei Wuxian and Lang Wonji is undeniable. They are what Sasuke and Naruto could have been. If you wanted somewhere to start that is a little easier to swallow, why do I do this to myself? The animated series is on YouTube for free, and I highly recommend you start there, especially because Season 3, the final season, literally started airing this summer and is either about to finish or maybe even done for those who subscribe to the VIP on Tencent. But yeah, you will be able to essentially wrap up the series along with all of us, so join us as we just pour out the love for this, honestly, just one of the most beloved franchises right now based on a Danmei novel, which is the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, Modao Zushi. There is also a live-action series called The Untamed, and that's how I personally got into it, because again, the donghua just started airing its final season. But the live-action is 50 minutes long and 50 episodes in, and I had to read a beginner's guide for Chinese fantasy terms because I'm a horny fangirl and we commit. But essentially, once you get past any potential terms or ideas or concepts you might not be familiar with, it is so enjoyable. And shout out, by the way, to Avenue X's YouTube channel, because honestly, a lot of what characterizes Chinese culture in Xianxia and or Wuxia, or in this case Danmei, is stuff that I learned on her channel. So thank you so much for that. You rock. And honestly, the live action manages to capture the magic just as well as the animated version, and maybe a little more of the romance aspect somehow. Debatable perhaps between those of us who are seeing season 3 and those who have not. Either way, you are welcome to join the debate of which one of the two is the most romantic, which one of them got the most away with the subtext. You can catch it on Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Viki, or for free on WeTV streaming service. Next on the list is Tianguan Shifu, or The Heaven Official's Blessing, aka the #1 anime of fall 2020. It is not an anime, guys, it's donghua. You know what? The #1 animation of fall 2020 according to my anime list that one week I was browsing. In an equally mystic world, just as the last series, Mo Shang Tongshou brings us a story focused on the heavens. Yes, Mo Shang Tongshou is the same author. I love this author. I'm going to be mentioning all of Mo Shang Tongshou's work here. The story is about Xie Lian, the crown prince of Xianle Kingdom, who was so good in life he ascended to the heavens around the age of 17 and became a martial god. However, things happen, bad things, and Xie Lian ends up getting kicked out of heaven several times. The donghua starts on his 3rd time ascending back to heaven. Roughly 800 years later, he's considered a joke, collecting scraps, having no temples in his name for people to go worship him, while the other gods look down on him and are kind of dicks about it. This is a world where gods are former mortals, and they've gotta go on video game quest-style missions to gain money, pay off debts, collect items, remove curses, answer prayers, try to get worshippers. Honestly, it felt like watching The Witcher at times. Oh, there's a demonic flower causing havoc in this town. Wait, there's a cursed groom kidnapping brides. Oh, look, a monster hunting a bridge, and toss a coin to your jinsha. It's full of magical horror mysteries galore, and you know I gotta love it if I'm willing to put up with the horror elements of it. For those of you who don't know me, I don't like horror. I like reading about it, but I definitely do not like watching it, and I had to watch quite a bit of it in this series. But it's so good. On his first task after becoming a god again, he learns of a ghost king, or king of the underworld, who terrifies the heavens, and he meets a mysterious youth who isn't what he seems. Without knowing who the ghost king is or what he looks like, Xie Lian strikes a friendship with the strange youth, and maybe something more begins to blossom. All the while not knowing that the ghost king has been keeping a close eye on him all these years, waiting for the right moment. Look, if you're into revenge plots, slow burn, reincarnations, and pining with remarkable payoff, this is the one for you. It is long though. Very long. This is also the first donghua danmei title that Funimation licensed, which of course made me sub to Funimation to support more acquisitions of danmei and BL titles with my wallet. And then episode 1 was delayed and I couldn't wait, so I also paid for Bilibili and navigated their Chinese site. Yes, I paid both Funimation and Bilibili for the same series because my life's a joke, and I just, you know, between this and Genshin, that's why I'm always broke. I mean, I love Genshin. I love Hwacheon. The next series is called Shenhen, or Guardian. It's a high-end sci-fi mystery that was first a novel by Priest and was then adapted into a live-action web series, receiving 1.8 billion views on its host site Youku before being taken down for, quote, harmful content, before being re-uploaded again anyway. I think that's always the best part of these rules. They end up being hypocrites because it makes them so much money. So what's the story? Buckle up, because this one's a bit of a doozy. On an alternate Earth-like world called Haixing, I think I'm saying that right, 3 species live together in peace. The Yashu, a shapeshifter race, the Dixing, a race of underground dwellers, and humanity. Things were, again, mostly peaceful, except for this one time where a meteor destroyed the natural resources of the Dixing and they declared war on the surface. The Yashu and humanity teamed up, and aided by their hero Kunlun and a Dixing faction seeking peace, the Black Robe Envoy, the group successfully wins the war. Everything was pretty chill for a while after. That is, until violence between the Dixing and other races begins to rise again. The SID, or the Special Investigation Department, has Xiao Yunlan, the current leader of the organization, team up with Shen Wei, a biological engineering professor, to tackle this rise in crime. The rest of the story follows these two unraveling the mystery behind the violence and the upcoming war. So it's definitely intricate, certainly more complicated than anything else on this list to a degree. But despite that, it proves to be one of the genre's most compelling hits. Do I have some thoughts on the ending? Ask me at Crystal Marie everywhere. To change things up a bit, our next danmei is called the Scum Villain Self-Saving System. And yes, that's the actual name, a 3D donghua. It premiered on September 10th, 2020 and streams on the streaming service WeTV. It was originally written by Mo Shang Tongshou. She's basically the MCU of gay, just don't call it gay in China where it's made, because you know. The story centers around the protagonist Shen Yuan, who was reborn as the villain of a harem novel. A scum villain named Shen Shen Qincho and is turned into a human stick, or a pickle pot in the donghua. On top of that, he is destined to die by the hand of the novel's protagonist, Luo Binghe. Instead of accepting his new fate, he decides to gain the favor of the protagonist, unwittingly winning his heart in the process, and ultimately changes his fate. Free of human sticks and pickle pots, it's definitely more humor-driven than anything else on this list. To put it into simpler terms, it takes the Chinese fantasies of normal danmei and fuses it with a self-aware Konosuba-esque comedy. It even has elements of isekai, the main character dying and going to a fantasy world. Although the animation isn't as good as some of the other entries in the genre, the CGI eventually grew on me, and I'm addicted to the OP. Its story, its characters, and wit make it stand out from the crowd. The full series is also on YouTube for free. Season 2 has already been announced, so definitely check it out. By the way, quick and huge update on some of these titles. The Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, Heaven Official's Blessing, and Scumbag System have all been licensed by 7 Seas, and their books are now going to be officially translated and available in English. And yep, you betcha they all immediately took over the top 10 spots in the bestsellers list and the top 3 spots at Barnes & Nobles. And honestly, if you prefer reading these novels, I highly recommend that, because those are the most uncensored versions of these stories you will possibly ever find, at least in an official context. Finally, another series worth checking out is the crime thriller Silent Reading, or Moldu, written by Priest, the same author who wrote that other mystery on the list. It's a crime thriller with a thuggish and seasoned cop working together with a flirty playboy to solve intensely intricate mysteries. It's pretty straightforward compared to Guardian, and its donghua is aimed to come out by the end of the year. The PV dropped in January of 2020, and it blends together a nice mix between 3D and 2D animation styles with gorgeous backgrounds and compelling tension. I honestly can't wait to see it, and let's hope it actually does drop now in 2021. Another great series worth checking out is Word of Honor, that honestly broke everyone's expectations on what the limits of censorship in live action could be. I don't believe that one has an animation, but if it did, I personally think Wen Kexing would be fabulous in it with his fam. Shout out to Avenue X again for her fantastic work reviewing this live action and explaining all those amazing poetry and literature references. The context she provided allowed me to enjoy this series even more. Man, I really want an animated Word of Honor now. And I won't dive into the plot too much, because this one I kind of went in blind with no idea what would happen and ended up loving it so much. I just want you to experience it yourself. Next up, we've got my problematic fave. Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun, which has a live action called Immortality coming out someday. Maybe. We don't really know now, especially with China's recent ban policies. Again, another series I won't get into, but suffice to say, Erha or Dumb Husky is one of the best novels in the genre. Quite frankly, it's not for everyone. Fair trigger warnings all around, but it's one of the most special ones to me because, you know what? This video is already super long. Caleb's gonna kill me. Hi, Caleb. He's our editor today. Everybody say hi to Caleb. Caleb has to go through this and research all this stuff, including the uncensored bits I keep talking about, or the trigger warnings. I will probably do another video exclusively on Erha, because that one is very, very special and unique. No donghua adaptation yet, but there is an expansion pack for the mobile game Ghost Story and an official manhwa being published now in anticipation for the live action Immortality, which we are still waiting for. Listen, I just want to see this venerable one on my screen. Yeah, we're gonna need to talk about Erha, probably on the Discord or Patreon, or just invade my Twitter, why don't you? Look, if you want to talk about all this danmei, let's just join the Beyond the Bot Discord, and let's invade the very, very new danmei channel I'm clearly gonna create now. Just boys love in general, if you want to stand with me and talk more about it. Let's go. And last but not least, Thousand Autumns. Check it out for Yang Wushi's tit window. Oh man, I wrote this drunk, didn't I? I wrote, check it out for Yan Wushi's tit window. The man commits to being cold. So yeah, check it out for Yan Wushi's tit window. Right right, the story. It's about Shen Chao, the kind and gentle head of the renowned Xuandu Mountain sect, who is severely wounded from a battle in the first chapter and who meets tit window enthusiast Zhang Wuxi, the head of a demonic sect whose initial goal is to save Shen Chao and turn him evil. Season 2 is coming with a brand new director, and while my king has lost his tit window in the redesign, how dare, I am very much looking forward to seeing what kind of trouble they get into. And that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video and went beyond the realms of anime and into the boys love multiverse on this one. But hey, that's why you're here. You can always count on me to dive deep into the new frontiers of horny. Come join our Discord if you want to stand more BL and Danmei with me, as I said. My name's Crystal Marie. Now go forth and fan service, and I'll see you on the next bot mission. Over and out. Hello everyone. Filming right now from the rehearsal rooms of a show that I am currently going to be on. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and thank you so much to everybody who subs on Patreon. We really couldn't do this without you. Guys, this is, I'm in the middle of somewhere mysterious. Okay, that's not mysterious, that's just a window, I get it. But there's like trees and a jungle out there. I'm in the Caribbean, basically. I get to call it a jungle because I was born in this jungle. But yeah, just thank you very much, especially to our high rollers, Eric Tortorapatu, Andrew M, Drew Warrenis, Critical225, Matthew Hennis, and Sugar Joe. And for today's Q&A, I've got Bradley Kulini, I think that's how you say it, but let us know in the comments how I can actually pronounce her name. We will 100% fix it. What dubs of anime shows do you like? There's like 3 questions here, so I'm gonna pick one. What has been your favorite album this year? What was the anime it took you a long time to get into? Okay, I'm gonna go with the anime that took me a long time to get into because I literally am watching it right now, and it's Madoka. So, for all of you who know me on this channel, I love magical girl shows. Sailor Moon is the love of my life as the OG magical girl show. I love Cardcaptor Sakura. I love anything to do with that, Kamikaze Kaito-Jun, and just even those parody magical girl shows where it's now male characters who transform into magical girls, because yes, you can be a magical girl no matter what. But the reason I avoided Madoka is because I knew that there was a horror component to it. Dory likes it, and that to me is a red flag. And then Curtis and Adrian especially were pressuring me to watch it, and then Jacob came in, conspiracy guy Jacob, telling me, you gotta watch Madoka, you gotta watch Madoka. I'm like, y'all want me to be scared, you want me to watch horror, and you know that I'm easily impressed. Like, I'm impressionable. I'm like a baby. Like, if I see images that are very disturbing, I don't sleep that night. Thank you, Madoka episode 3. For those of you who watch it, y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna try not to spoil, but yeah, it took me a while to get into that series. I finally did. I think it's brilliant, but my God, wow. It made me lose my mind, if not my head. Okay, bye.